Well, am I right here? Good morning. It's Tom Padula from TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers. And this morning we continue with the Italian lessons. We're up to lesson number 57. And it's a storia della letteratura italiana in lingua. So the first 20 lessons were dedicated to grammar. The second 21 to 39, almost there, 19. They were dedicated to pratica, and from 40 onwards up to 60, it'll be lingua, letteratura e lingua italiana. And we go back to the Roman times to check up whether, a lot of the Latin has been left to us after 2,000 years. I think it has. A lot of it has. However, like everything else in life, the devil is in the detail, as they say, and therefore one has to study the language closely, because we also borrowed from the Latin, the grammar itself, the structure of the verbs and the sentences, the syntax. There were changes over time to improve the language and to make it easier for people, and that's where we're at the moment. But we are really also interested now in continuing the story of the letteratura italiana. We are up to Dante Alighieri, and Dante doing the Divina Commedia on Sundays, and that's accessible as well. And this time is Le Opere Minori, the minor works of Dante, and also about his life. So last time he was describing, how hard it is to go up and down those stairs whilst he was in exile. Now, there was a bit of confusion last week. Well, not confusion. I was trying to work out how old was Beatrice. In fact, she was 1 year younger than Dante. So he met her when he was 9 and she was 8, not 10. So it was more in line with each other. They would meet each other in the middle of Florence and look at each other as children, and the rest, as they say, is history. Now, apart from that, Dante's works continue, and I'll be reading about the development in his journey through life. So that's where we're at, and also I'll keep going with Speak Parla Speak. Today is La Nostra Aula. We're going to look at the words coming from l'aula, from the classroom. Following that, we also have some songs. I'm very happy to be doing this, because these songs here are part of the Coro all'Improviso activity that I wanted to introduce, and it consists of 12 songs, 4 parts, divided in 2. You can have a lovely afternoon concerto, un concerto in the afternoon. It's about an hour and a half with introductions, and you can introduce other areas as well, but the 12 songs are there, and you can just follow my scheme in order to enjoy yourself anywhere, whether it's in a home or in a club. And also you can, because these songs, I'll actually going to try to put them on YouTube so that you can access them as well. A very exciting time for me, and it's we're just under, we are under Christmas 2022. And the next few weeks are going to be busy for everybody, preparing and then celebrating, and then waiting for the new year to come in, some holidays, and then we start again. So what will I do? I will actually stop the Italian lessons up to number 60, because by that time I will have finished Dante's minor works and life. And it's a good, I want to take a break from it and perhaps explore something else as well. You never know. Also, the other thing that I noticed that, sometimes I have activities on. If I'm not on anymore, I thought rather than wait for the week after, I will change the time when I will do that particular lesson, and I'll announce it beforehand. Say next week, for example, not next Sunday, I'm out on Sunday. Not now. Hello, Calvin Thompson, welcome. So not now. So when I'm out, I've decided to actually do this particular activity at another time, close to the time when I'm supposed to have it on, but that way I don't break up the patterns. Okay, so it's 11:30. I'm going to start. Okay, here we go. We left off last week. Oop, I dropped my pen. 1 second. Last week we stopped off on this saying: siccome sa di sale lo pane altrui, e come duro calle lo scendere il salir per l'altrui scale. What a beautiful saying. He says that, see, it's so hard to eat someone else's bread, because he was in exile. So he had to go to different families. He was a famous person in his time, so he was welcomed in various castles around Tuscany and Romagna and Perugia. E come duro calle lo scendere e salir. Calle in Venetian is actually a street, and how difficult it is, the going up and down in other people's steps. So in other words, when you're going up, you find hard accepting other people's bread. Not a problem, Marisa Francavilla. You're not late. You can always then go back and listen to the bit that you missed out on. Not a problem. Okay, very nice today, Marisa and Calvin coming on. Okay, so that's hard, the hard bit. Now let's go on. Ma quello che più lo rodeva era il sospetto che l'ingiusto esilio gli venisse imputato a colpa e detraesse anche la sua fama di poeta, poiché la piaga della fortuna suole ingiustamente al piagato molte volte essere imputata. We've got another saying il cane rode the dogs attack people who are really poor, they don't look good in Italian. Non mi ricordo adesso. But this one here relates to the fact that Dante belonged to the Guelph party, the white section of it, and that was punished by Boniface VIII, called a king from France, in order to put a stop to the violence in Florence at the time between the black area, the black section of the Guelphs and the white section, because the Ghibelline had lost power altogether about 30 years before. And unfortunately, Dante was in the white side. So that requires a little bit of explanation, a bit of history there. So I encourage you to look up the Guelph parties in Florence, the history of the Guelph party in Florence at the time of Dante Alighieri. Okay, but Dante says, that's unjust, what they accused me of abusing of my public office for private gain. It's not right, because it affects also his standing as a poet. A poet is supposed to be a pure of heart. So, if you call yourself a poet, you're looking for justice, and you want people, you want the goodness of the spirit to be welcomed everywhere by humanity. That's what a good poet is. So he says, and he mentions this in Convivio, one of his minor works. He mentioned this, suole ingiustamente al piagato. So I was unjustly treated. I didn't deserve that. He complained about that. And it was also mentioned, I think, in in hell, in inferno. Anyway, in certe saltuarie sono le notizie intorno alle sue peregrinazioni. So we don't really know exactly how Dante, where Dante went in the subsequent years after his exile. But there is a Dante walk from Florence to Ravenna that we can all go and do one day. Speriamo. Anyway, sappiamo, and that's from Paradiso, we haven't done Paradiso yet, Paradiso number 20, canto 27, che la prima ospitalità lebbe liberale e riguardosa da Bartolomeo della Scala. So Bartolomeo della Scala welcomed him, che aveva la signoria di Verona. He was from Verona, che apparteneva alla famiglia ghibellina. So a Ghibelline aristocrat welcomed him in Verona, gave him his first ospitalità, gave him bed and breakfast sort of thing. Nel 1306 lo troviamo in Lunigiana presso i Marchesi Malaspina, another famous Italian family of the Middle Ages, mandatario di essi in un trattato di pace col vescovo di Luni. Mandatario di essi in un trattato. So we see this in one of the documents from the Bishop of Luni. Fu nel Casentino verso il 1307, in Casentino. Il Boccaccio parla di un viaggio di Dante a Parigi, addirittura. Boccaccio mentions the fact that Dante went to Paris a scopo di studio, in order to study there. Ma è notizia molto discussa, but this is not, it's challenged. In other words, Boccaccio might have wanted him, being an admirer of Dante, could have created something that was not. Well, who knows? Intanto nel 1303 era morto Bonifacio VIII, Boniface VIII, the one who caused the problem with the French king, and that particular king gave all the power to the blacks of the Guelph party. He died in 1303. E qualche anno dopo anche il turbolento Corso Donati e alcuni bianchi erano rimpatriati. And some years later, some of the white people came back. Dante dovette ricevere qualche speranza but Dante was hoping that he could return as well, ma quello che risolvò davvero il suo animo fu la discesa in Italia del nuovo imperatore Arrigo VII di Lussemburgo. So I knew from Luxembourg, I would say it would be a German king here. Even Luxembourg was part of that German Empire, nel quale egli vide l'uomo provvidenziale che, rivendicando l'autonomia dell'impero e lasciando al papato il puro dominio nel campo religioso, avrebbe ricondotto l'ordine e la pace nel mondo. So he was hoping that this particular emperor would have brought back peace in the world. My God. But what happens? He was hoping that the emperor at the time was leaving all the religious governance to the Pope, and he would pick up the rest, the ones that belong to humanity, sort of thing. Quando Arrigo, so that was what Dante was actually hoping for, but quando Arrigo nel 1310 entrò in Italia, Dante si recò personalmente a rendergli omaggio. So Dante went to see this emperor in 1310 e scrisse 3 epistole latine, and he wrote 3 letters in Latin. Una ai comuni e ai signori d'Italia, esortando a far degna l'accoglienza all'inviato di Dio. So one of the letters encourages all the governing people the governing monarchs and in Italy to actually welcome this inviato da Dio, because whether you're a pope or the emperor, you were both inviati da Dio. But of course, the religious one, the pope, had predominance over the other. un altro di profetiche minacce contro Firenze che aveva respinto i messi imperiali. Another one against Florence because they had rejected the embassy from the emperor. E una terza diretta allo stesso imperatore, soltanto a punire Firenze, pecore infetta che ammorba le altre. So it says, punish Florence, because it's a black sheep amongst all the others, and it's affecting the loyalties of the others towards you. L'impresa di Enrico VII sentò fra molteplici contrasti, tra cui il vano assedio posto a Firenze e fallì per la malafede di Papa Clemente V e perché l'imperatore morì nel 1313 a buon convento. So a few things happened with this Enrico VII. He had a lot of difficulties in establishing his rule in Italy, and amongst these things he failed to win Florence via battle, and he also he had the malafede. In other words, the Pope Clement the fifth did not welcome him, and also then as a result all that l'imperatore morì a buon convento nel 1313, in 1313. Le notizie circa le successive peregrinazioni di Dante sono ancora più malsicure. What happened to Dante afterwards we're still not very sure, even worse than before. Il Petrarca, allora ragazzo, lo vide a Pisa verso il 1313. So Francesco Petrarca was a young man, and he's one of the three major literary figures of the 1300. Of Dante, Francesco Petrarca, Giovanni Boccaccio. Those are the three main ones. And we'll be doing something on them later, not straight away, after my break. Il Petrarca, allora ragazzo, lo vide a Pisa tra il 1314 e il 1316, pare che si trovasse a Lucca, so close to Florence, dove simpatizzò con quella gentucca di cui al canto 24esimo del Purgatorio. I'm going to be doing it very quickly, very soon. Di un'amnistia generale bandita dal comune di Firenze, il poeta rifiutò sdegnosamente di beneficiare, poiché i graziati avrebbero dovuto sottoporsi a un cerimoniale umiliante. Sborsata una certa somma, essere offerti a San Giovanni, patrono della città, al cui tempio dovevano recarsi in processione a guisa di penitenti. Nella famosa epistola Amico fiorentino, Dante esprime con magnifiche parole i motivi della sua ripulsa. So even though he was given the opportunity to return to Florence, but he refused because the Comune, the council members of the Comune of Florence wanted him to walk in a procession amongst the penitent and also give some money to San Giovanni, the patron saint of the city. So it was a bit humiliating for Dante, and he said, no, I'm not coming. So he wrote a letter called Amico Fiorentino, my friend from Florence. Dante esprime con magnifiche parole I motivi, he expresses the motives for his renunciation of this grace from the Comune di Firenze, which had, a bit suspect. They wanted to humiliate him. Tornò ancora a Verona, so he went back to Verona, presso gli Scaligeri, e infine accettò l'ospitalità di Guido Novello da Polenta, signore di Ravenna. So Guido Novello da Polenta was the lord of Ravenna, and he welcomed him in the end. Amico dei poeti e dilettante di poesia. He was a friend of the poets, and he was a dilettante, he liked poetry. Colà, confortato dalla presenza dei figli e fors'anche della moglie, trascorse gli ultimi anni lavorando intensamente al compimento della commedia. And here in Ravenna, they say that he was joined by his children and his wife. And he lived the rest of his time working on his commedia, on la Divina Commedia. Continuò sempre a sperare di essere onorevolmente riaccolto in Firenze e ricevere la corona di poeta nel battistero del suo bel San Giovanni, tanto che respinse l'invito di Giovanni del Virgilio, grammatico allo studio di Bologna, che lo desiderava nella dotta città, ove con un poema in lingua latina si sarebbe potuto meritare la incoronazione solenne. So, when in the Dante Alighieri Society they have the poets and they wear a particular crown, that's what Dante was looking for, riconoscimento. But he was invited in Bologna, which was the city of, great university of Europe at the time, etc., etc. But he didn't go. Nell'agosto del 1321 si recò per mandato di Guido a trattare con Repubbliche. So this Guido, Guido Novello da Polenta, sent him to Venice to have a treaty with Venice in 1321. Al ritorno, when he came back, si ammalò. He fell sick, forse di malaria, because he could have died of malaria that he had, because when Venice was, not the Venice of today. E finì di vivere a Ravenna in quello stesso anno, 1321, probabilmente nella notte tra il 13 e il 14 settembre. On the night of the 13th or 14th of September, he died. Con principeschi onori funebri fu sepolto in una cappella dell'attuale chiesa di San Francesco. So he was given maximum honors of his death, and he was he's still in the cappella, in a sanctuary, is it, of the Church of St. Francis in Ravenna, where he still is, by the way. I fiorentini pentiti ne reclamarono più volte le ossa, ma invano. The Florentines, the people from Florence, wanted him back, but never got him. Il Papa Leone X nel secolo XVI, sollecitato da una supplica di vari fiorentini, tra cui Michelangelo Buonarroti, che offriva gratis la sua opera di artista per un monumento funebre, autorizzò il trasferimento delle ossa di Dante da Ravenna a Firenze, ma sottratte dalla gelosia dei frati, esse non si trovarono nell'arca, dove poi rinvenute nel 1865. Furono rinchiuse. Al suo sommo cittadino Firenze eresse nel 1829 un cenotafio in Santa Croce. So there's been always a bit of a tussle between Florence and Ravenna who should keep Dante's skeleton, bones, and it's still in Ravenna. But Dante, of course, was given honors in Florence in different ways. Di Dante ci rimane un unico ritratto, ed è quello dipinto da Giotto, è scoperto nel 1840 sotto un intonaco del Palazzo del Bargello in Firenze. So Giotto, famous ritrattista, someone portrayed, who did portraits, they found one photo, un quadro, un intonaco nel Palazzo Bargello in Firenze, under, Jesus, in a room. Look, I can't. L'intonaco, l'intonaco, sotto l'intonaco. Anyway, it doesn't come in English. I know because I've done it at home. But anyway, it doesn't come now. So Dante's, we've got a photo of Dante. In other words, we've got a close enough photo of his face. Il poeta è qui ancora giovane. He was still young when that particular ritratto was done by Giotto. Infatti il Boccaccio nella sua vita di Dante ci dice che il suo volto fu lungo e il naso aquilino e gli occhi anzi grossi che piccioli, le mascelle grandi e dal labbro di sotto era quel di sopra avanzato. So he had a thicker, that's a good one. If somebody can do this, be great. il suo volto fu lungo, long face, il naso aquilino, eagle nose, e gli occhi anzi grossi, the eyes were pretty big rather than small, le mascelle grandi e del labbro di sotto era quel di sopra ma mangiato, like that. E queste indicazioni corrispondono a quello del ritratto giottesco, ma poi aggiunge e i capelli e la barba spessi neri e crespi. So he had capelli and barba as well, aspetto che il poeta dovette assumere nella virilità, perché Giotto lo ritrasse col viso glabro. So he did not have a barba. When Giotto took his, lo ritraste, he painted him. So Dante at one stage had a beard. I wonder, then with modern technology, we should have some pictures of Dante with a beard. Just put it on. Il Boccaccio inoltre conferma l'idea che dell'indole di Dante ci facciamo la lettura delle sue opere sempre nella faccia malinconica e pensosa. He was always had a melancholy face and always like in deep thought. Cortese e civile, he was courteous and civil, parco di parole, he didn't talk that much, ma all'occorrenza, but when it was needed, eloquentissime, he was very eloquent when he spoke. Solitario, he was on his own, appassionato, passionate, della musica, of music, ardente amatore di donne. He was ardente, he was a loved woman. And that's maybe a lot of poets tend to do that. They love women more, and they love music, and they love to be on their own because they got to write, etc., etc. It reminds me of somebody here in this warehouse of mine. Look at that. It's amazing. I don't know. What's the time? 11:51. I'm going to read the next one as well. Cronologia delle opere. So a chronology of the opere. Ok. Oltre alla Divina Commedia di Dante, dobbiamo le cosiddette opere minori, the minor works of Dante, a Vita Nova, Canzoniere, Convivio, De Vulgari Eloquenzia, Monarchia e le Ecloghe e le Epistole. The last two are like letters. Impossibile determinare con sicurezza gli estremi cronologici. We don't know exactly how they developed these ones here, but number one was Vita Nova. Vita Nova is his young work, and it's got beautiful poems. I'll have to find it further down the line. I'll read some of these works. Messe insieme negli anni 1292-93. He was still a young man. He was born in 1265, so in 92-93, he was 27. Convivio composto tra 1304 e 1307. Il convivio was, in his 30s. De Vulgari Eloquenzia è iniziato verso il 1305, è rimasto interrotto. So De Vulgari Eloquenzia, it was an uninterrupted work. Monarchia, scritto tra il 1310 e il 1313. So if you look at the way he welcomed Arrigo VII, that's when he wrote about the monarchy, being that people should follow the monarch because he represented the human part from God. Durante l'impresa di Arrigo, quinto ecloghe, che sono due composte fra 1300 in 1319 and 1320, the ecloghe are there. And the epistole, le epistole sono 13, so there are 13 epistole. That's like an essay. Di varie date in latino. These are these are written in Latin. Il titolo di canzoniere è stato dato in tempi recenti alla raccolta delle rime dantesche non incluse nella Vita Nuova e nel Convivio. So, in modern times, the word canzoniere encapsulates all of Dante's poetical works that are not found in Vita Nuova in recent times. Gli studiosi inclinano oggi a riconoscere nel dantesco un trattarello di fisica terrestre in latino intitolato Questio de Aqua e Terra. So, in today's world, che sarebbe poi una dissertazione tenuta dal poeta l'anno 1620 in Verona. So he wrote about what we should know about water and the earth. More like a scientific essay, which was given in Ravenna. Okay, con una dissertazione, like what I try to do occasionally, when I invite people to a cultural afternoon. So he spoke in that place and prepared his work. La Divina Commedia fu forse iniziata intorno al 1307, 1307. È certo che poco dopo la morte di Arrigo VII, l'inferno e il purgatorio erano almeno parzialmente divulgati. So a portion of his work of Inferno e Purgatorio were already known during the time of Arrigo VII. Gli ultimi 13 canti del Paradiso sarebbero stati, secondo una voce raccolta dal Boccaccio, rintracciati dal figlio Jacopo Alighieri, the son of Dante, found the last 13 canti of Paradiso, in seguito ad un'indicazione che il padre defunto gli avrebbe dato in sogno. So his father appeared him in a dream and said, go and find those 13 canti. Il poeta stesso, mentre si accingeva al 25° canto del Paradiso, affermava che il poema lo aveva fatto per più anni macro. So this poem had made him thin, had caused him to become sick in some way. Okay, so that's it, 1156, not bad. Now, I've got, then next week we'll do La Vita Nuova, which is quite long, really. Il Canzoniere, il Convivio, and then the Vulgaria Eloquenzia e la Monarchia. I think I'll finish spot on at lesson 60. Okay, but La Vita Nuova will be quite a long one next week. I'll have to give some more extra time to that. And that's it. That's where we are. So, we'll learn a little bit more about Dante Alighieri, his life and his tribulations. Boy. Well, when I reflect on my own journey, it's a bit different from this one. Very lucky, really, to be in Melbourne and enjoy a life that has been, in peace in many ways. Of course, busy all the time, but seen so much progress in the city that really I thank God for that. But when we go on television and we have wars in the world, so if you happen to be in one of those places, it's not nice at all. Okay, well that's it for Storia della letteratura italiana e lingua. And now we're going to go to La Nostra Aula. These are the vocabulary, the nouns, the words relating to our classroom. Now, I'm assuming here that this is only an encouragement for people to teach other people Italian. People already, if you're listening to Dante Alighieri, you must be, pretty well advanced in Italian. You can then use some of this material for your own teaching of people around you, younger children especially. La nostra aula. Cosa c'è in aula? I'm not going to say them in English. I'm just going to read them in Italian. i banchi, la lavagna bianca, la lavagna luminosa, that's the overhead projector, gli scaffali, the shelves, gli armadi, the cupboards. And maybe I'll do the English one with the ones that I think you may not know. La carta geografica, I don't need to say, il cestino della carta, the rubbish bin. Il tabellone is the notice board, i poster, i cuscini, la stufa, the heater, l'altoparlante, the loudspeaker, il ripostiglio, a storage cupboard, l'interruttore, the switch. And I've just noticed there's a mistake here. Interruttore should be double T. Interruttore. I have to check. There's only one T in here, but it should be two. Anyway, l'attacco della corrente, the PowerPoint, i quadri, pictures, la paletta della spazzatura, the dustpan for the rubbish, i ganci per i cappotti, the hooks for the coats, le cartelle, school bags, la spazzatura va nel bidone. That's a nice sentence that you can use when you're writing in Italian, those easy sentences. The rubbish is in the rubbish bin. Ogni alunno ha un armadietto. Every student has a locker, armadietto. Dovete usare un lucchetto. You must use a lock, lucchetto. Nei banchi ci sono, in the desks there are, i libri, i quaderni, i fogli, le matite colorate, la riga, il righello, the ruler, la riga, il righello, I never heard of that one. I pennarelli, textus, i pennarelli, didn't know that one either. I pastelli, pastels, yes, la gomma, il segnalibro, a bookmark, that's a good one. Gli elastici, rubber bands, la cucitrice, the stapler, la cucitrice, that's an interesting one, the stapler. Il temperamatite, the sharpener, la plastilina, the plasticine. Cos'altro c'è? What else is there? Le videocassette, il computer, la stampante is the printer, i lucidi, transparencies, lo strofinaccio, the duster, il proiettore, the projector, lo schermo, the screen, un televisore, a TV set. Preparate le cartelle, get the school bags ready. Ragazzi, preparate le cartelle. È ora di consegnare il vostro lavoro. It's time to hand in, you know. E tutti in piedi. Get up, everybody. Attaccate i disegni alle pareti. Hang the drawings on the wall. Metti i libri sugli scaffali. Put the books on the shelves. Fate il compito per domani. Do the homework for tomorrow. Posso avere una proroga? Can I have an extension? Proroga is extension. Il termine massimo è venerdì. The deadline is Friday. That was a good one. La nostra, as I said, for Christmas, come to Insegna and get some of these books. Come on, make an effort. Teach the language to people around you. If you know Italian, become a volunteer for the language. Spread the word. I'm doing it with the University of the Third Age. It's all voluntary. Here I am, worth so much money per hour. At least a couple hundred per hour. Oh well, never mind. But after that, I really do need a bit of an uplift. And who else could give me an uplift than Rosamunda? Do you know Rosamunda? Rosamunda, Rosamunda, che magnifica serata, sembra quasi preparata da una fata delicata, mille luci, mille voci, mille cuori strafelici, son tutti in allegria, oh che felicità! Rosamunda, Rosamunda, questa polca indiavolata, ogni coppia innamorata fa danzare, fa cantare, se una scossa ti sconquassa, bella mia non farti rossa, da me lasciati baciare e non mi dir di no. Rosamunda, se mi baci tu, Rosamunda non resisto più. Tutte le coppie fo inciampar, più non mi trovo a saltellar. Rosamunda, Rosamunda, tu mi fai gioir. No, that's the wrong one. Tutte le Rosamunda, tu mi fai gioir, Rosamunda, tu mi fai stordir, sotto le stelle a cuore, è tanto bello il nostro amor. Rosamunda, Rosamunda, che magnifica serata, sembra quasi preparata da una fata delicata, mille luci, mille voci, mille cuori strafelici, son tutti in allegria, oh che felicità! Rosamunda, Rosamunda, questa polca indiavolata, ogni coppia innamorata fa danzare, fa cantare. Se una scossa ti sconquassa, bella mia non farti rossa, lasciati baciare e non mi dir di no. Rosamunda, Rosamunda, se mi baci tu, Rosamunda, non resisto più. Tutte le coppie fo inciampar, più non mi trovo a saltellar. I'm having difficulties with this sound. Rosamunda, tu sei la vita per me, Rosamunda, tutto il mio cuore è per te, nei tuoi baci c'è tanta felicità, più ti guardo e più mi piaci, Rosamunda. That's the first time I've actually struck difficulties coming on. Well, that's how it is. Also, when musicians sometimes get this, but then they cover up with the music, which was wonderful, and you come back to it. So, this one here, Rosamunda, se mi baci tu, Rosamunda, Rosamunda, etc., etc. I'll have to check this one out. Maybe I'll do it another time, but for this time, I'm just going to leave it in the program as it is, okay? And, you'll learn it. So we've done we've done the first one of the songs. I've got two more, but this time here I have I have my poems. There are three short poems. One is called Sei solo, ok? Sei solo nel tuo mondo illuminato di luci di città e brilla per te una chimera nei tuoi sogni. Guarda sull'asfalto, è duro il suo smalto, soltanto sull'erba troverai la verità della tua vita. Okay? Now that one there, I'll just find a page, and it says, you're alone in your world lit by city lights, and in your dreams a chimera is shining for you. Look on the asphalt, its surface is hard. Only on the grass will you find the truth of your existence. So get close to the grass and you will, you will know who you really are. Take your shoes off. And you know that the earth is our friend, cools our feet. Riflessione, this is another one, reflection. Sei vestito, non lo dire a nessuno, tutti lo sanno e ciascuno vuole da te un tuo brandello affinché tu resti nudo. This the emperor, you remember the emperor? The emperor was naked. Maybe a bit like that. Reflection. You are dressed, don't tell anyone. Everyone knows it, and each one wants from you a torn piece until you remain naked. Wow. This was written in 79, I think. I remember when I wrote 4 poems, very short. I was trying to do the haiku, the Japanese haiku, the short poems. Divisione, okay, let's go. Sento un'ora d'amore, a tutti voglio donarne un momento, però la divisione non dà a ciascuno che un eco del mio cuore. So, I feel an air of love. I want to give it to everybody. But, so, I feel an air of love. I want to give everyone a moment of it. But its division only gives each person but an echo of my heart. Very little gets to the person. So that's la divisione. You know, when I look at my poetry now, it's not that bad. I thought, you know, they weren't poems, etc. Some people, oh, you know, they're not poems. Doesn't matter. Welcome to Zoraida. We are doing, what's going on here? Oh, I held the other phone in my hand. Okay, so now this one here. After this, we're going to do a bit of Italian history. If you remember, last week I spoke about some of the industries that were developed after the unification of Italy. Okay, and you know, electricity, telephone, a few things in Italy, the motor, you know, car motor. Now, gli operai. But as these industries were established, and I must say this, the unification of Italy did not unify Italy straight away. It's still going on, the unification, after 140 years. Because, you know, you don't create a nation overnight. So if there are a lot of differences in a country, to bring those differences, you know, to calm down and sort of live in peace with each other, it takes a long time. And lately I've been watching some of the historical series. One of the ones that really strikes me was the Vikings. The Vikings were the Northmen. And for centuries, they invaded the rest of Europe until they also became a part of it. So that's the sort of what's happening to Italy now. North and South now, and Middle. You don't hear anymore about the division. The government in Italy now knows its responsibility of looking after all of the territory, including the islands around it. Okay, so that's my wish for Italy, that they continue in their work of bringing together the whole country, and to do it with peace and justice for everybody. You know, helping wherever the help is needed, and also helping those who give work, who create work. Very important. And we have that sort of tradition during the Roman Empire, or before, way before, during the kings of Rome, where the patricians and the plebeians got together, you know, and they said, someone said, you know, you all need to work together. That was the message. Okay, now, when the industries were established in the north, and you have the problem, you have a lot of workmen that are imported from southern Italy in order to strengthen the industrial part and the commerce with the rest of Europe. Because in the south was, you know, had a lot of industries as well, in Puglia, you know, in Naples. They did, but they were gutted out as time went on during unification. Ok? So gli operai, let's have a look. Con le invenzioni e le scoperte del 1800 sorsero grandi industrie. Dalle campagne i contadini vennero a lavorare nelle fabbriche, per vivere essi potevano contare solo sul loro lavoro. Quando non lavoravano rischiavano di morire di fame. Pur di non perdere il lavoro, gli operai si accontentavano di paghe basse. lavoravano anche 12 ore al giorno e facevano lavorare i loro figli al di sotto dei 10 anni. Quando si ammalavano, quando diventavano vecchi, quando i padroni li licenziavano, non avevano assistenza per le malattie, non avevano né pensione né aiuti. Terrible time. Intanto però l'istruzione si era diffusa ed essi potevano capire meglio la miseria della loro condizione e conoscere i mezzi per combatterla. Questi uomini vivevano di solito in quartieri poveri vicino alle fabbriche. Cominciarono a riunirsi e a mettersi d'accordo sui mezzi più adatti per migliorare la loro vita. So they got together, all these poor people were called to work in the industries and they had no protection whatsoever with low pays, and when they didn't work, they didn't get paid, so they risked dying of hunger. I'm sure that people around them helped, but not always. Le lotte operaie. Gli operai cominciarono a lottare per avere il diritto di voto, di votare, di eleggere i loro deputati, per avere leggi che proteggessero il loro lavoro. L'arma della lotta era lo sciopero. Che cos'è lo sciopero? Tutti gli operai dichiarano che se non riceveranno quello che chiedono, smetteranno di lavorare. Se gli operai non lavorano, le fabbriche si fermano e i padroni ricevono un danno enorme. Con l'arma dello sciopero gli operai ottennero a poco un più giusto orario di lavoro, il divieto di far lavorare i bambini nelle fabbriche, il diritto alla pensione, all'assistenza per malattie, finalmente ottennero il diritto di voto. So, through the element of strikes, there are a lot of social improvements made over time. Okay, so that's another one that you can look at. When you go to Google and you can say le lotte operaie, in Italy after unification. So that's that. So in terms of our Italian for today, it's there. But now, I hope I don't stuff this one up. No, this one should be all right. Rosamunde was a bit of a challenge. I didn't realize. I've always done it well, but that time I didn't. Porta un bacione a Firenze. We spoke badly about Florence, so now I'm sending a kiss to Florence. Forgive me, Partivo una mattina con vapore e una bella bambina gli arrivò. Vedendomi la fa, scusi signore, perdoni, lei di Fiore sì lo so. Lei torna a casa lieto, ben lo vedo, ed è un favore piccolo qui chiedo. La porti un bacione a Firenze, che l'è la mia città, che in cuore ho sempre qui. La porti un bacione a Firenze, lavoro sol per rivederla un dì. Son figlia di emigrante, per questo son distante, lavoro perché un giorno a casa tornerò. La porti un bacione a Firenze, se la rivedo e gliela renderò. Bella bambina, le ho risposto allora, il tuo bacino a casa porterò, e per tranquillità, sin da quest'ora, in viaggio chiuso a chiave lo terrò. Ma appena giunto a casa, te lo giuro, il bacio vero e il cielo andrà sicuro. Io porto il tuo bacio a Firenze, che è la tua città ed anche le di me. Io porto il tuo bacio a Firenze, né mai giammai potrò scordarmi te. Sei figlia d'emigrante, per questo sei distante, ma sta sicuro un giorno a casa tornerai. Io porto il tuo bacio a Firenze, e da Firenze tanti baci avrai. L'è vera questa storia, e se là un fosse, la può passar per vera sol perché so bene lucciconi e quanto tosse gli ha chi distante dalla patria gli è. Così ogni fiorentino che è lontano, vedendoti partir ti dirà piano: la porti un bacione a Firenze, gli è tanto che un ci vo, ci credo più un ci sto. La porti un bacione a Firenze, un vedo l'ora quando tornerò. La nostra cittadina, graziosa e sì carina, la ci ha tant'anni eppure la un vecchia mai. io porto i bacioni a Firenze di tutti i fiorentini che incontrai. Wow, I am going to be emotional there. The story of migration, it always does something to me for some reason. Okay, a townhouse in Rome. Only the wealthy could afford to have their own houses in the centre of the town. They were usually built to the same basic design, with a small colonnaded garden at the back. At the front of the house was the atrium, or hall where guests were received. Houses had door handles and knockers made of bronze. This came from a house in Pompeii. Here are some Roman locks and keys as a precaution against thieves. Doors were heavy and were securely locked. Some houses had guard dogs too. Beware of the dog is the message on this mosaic from Pompeii. That's incredible. These are one of the houses in Rome. Look at that. Luxury plus. That's the house at the back of the house. The front, there's the portone there, the door, coming in, and you get all this. Also, you get, see that? These are some of the handles, locks, and beware of the dog. Well, that's it for that one. But now, I think before I do Trier, I want to read some Latin to you. Okay? Here we go. They are sentences. Aurelia servos inculina loquentus audivit. Cornelia, let me see if I can show it to you. Yes, let me see. Here we are. This is the Latin. I've read the first two. Here are the other ones. It's harder for me to read when I do this. Spectatores non audiverant cur servus liberatus esset. Stirpe pede extracta, leo recubuit et dormivit. Princeps fabula audita constituit servo parcere. Negavit enim se unquam prius talem fabulam audivisse. Audivimus spectatores, cum leonem hominis manus labentem viderent attonitos esse. Cornelius putavit titum, domum se secutum esse, sed mox intellexit eum in amphitheatro moratum esse. Sexto viso fur effugere, conans in pavimento lapsus est. Eu inquit tisbe, putum eum velamen te perdidisse. Quibus verbis dictis se occidere conata est. Dicitur duos amantes in eodem sepulcro sepultos esse. Wow. Read and translate. I'll read a bit more. I've got my other poem here, my other song. So, okay, let's go. Scebamus multos, see multos many, fures vestimenta in italiano, e balneis surrepta in urbe, vendere, in the city, vendere to sell, in the city. Pyramus vestigiis leonis visis, putavit puellam necatam esse. Thisbe corpora Pyrami viso, dicit ipsam se occisuram esse. ex urbe prefecturi audivimus viam appiam clausam esse, the Appian Way, viam appiam. Nesciabamus quando baias parventuri essemus, pueri ex atrio egrendientes, voce Euclaidis audita se in cubiculum convocituros esse, musaverunt. Sextus e ludo domum missus siebat Cornelium se puniturum. Esse. Tito roganti Cornelius respondit, Aureliam ad amphitheatrum non ituram esse, eam domi manere malle, Marcus Titum conspectum rogavit quot spectatores amphitheatro contineri possent, gladiatores pugnaturi Caesarem salutare solent, siunt multos morituros esse, post pugnas in amphitheatro factas spectatores multos gladiatores occiso esse viderunt. Look at that, post pugnas in amphitheatro, factas spectatores. The spectators saw many gladiators being killed. Not bad. So that's the once you start the Latin, it actually becomes let me stand properly. Becomes easier to read the Latin, and then you can study it, a bit like what I do with the other languages. And as you can see here, there are very specific ways of, the syntax, especially the verb that comes at the end of the sentence. Not always, but it does. Now, we've done that, and I wanted to do, where was it? Trier. Okay. The story of Lucius and Alge is a fictional account of the very real and significant historic process of Romanization in Northern Europe. The history of the city of Trier, situated in what is now Rhineland-Pfalz, Germany, testifies eloquently to the factual record of that process. Situated on a broad expanse of lush meadow in the Moselle Valley, the city had its origins as the tribal capital of the Treveri, a Celtic clan. The Roman beginnings date from the time of Julius Caesar, to whom the Treveri supplied cavalry troops. A civilian settlement grew up around the small Roman fort. The actual Roman city dates from the reign of Augustus, who founded Augusta Treverorum to establish a supply base for the armies on the Rhine, and to spread urban civilization to the frontier of Northern Europe by establishing a model city there. So this is Trier. See that? Moselle is the river. And all these buildings are still there, apparently. So, that's Trier. Located at the crossroads, the city became a commercial centre for trade in food, wine, textiles, leather goods, pottery and building materials. In time it began to possess all the characteristics of a Roman city. The grid of cross streets intersecting at a forum was probably laid out during the reign of Claudius, 41 to 54 after Domini, after Christ. There were baths, a residence for the Roman procurator, and an amphitheatre built around AD 100, with a seating capacity of about 20,000. That amphitheatre, a small version of the Flavian amphitheatre in Rome, was a hallmark of Trier's Romanization. At the same time, a bathing complex was constructed and temples were built, not only to gods that the Romans brought with them, such as Mithras, the Indo-Iranian god so popular with Roman soldiers, but also to Lenus, Mars, a local deity who combined a Celtic god with the Roman Mars. The peaceful development of the city was interrupted a number of times in its Roman history, but it always recovered. Tragedy struck when the Alemanni crossed the Rhine and sacked the city and other centres of urban civilization about 275 AD. However, Probus reigned 276 to 82, drove the barbarians back over the Rhine and restored order. That's a good one to stop there. And then I'll continue from there next week. It's interesting because I want to say to you, bella ciao, okay? Una mattina mi son svegliato, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Una mattina mi son svegliato ed ho incontrato l'invasor. Oh partigiano, portami via. Oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Oh partigiano, portami via, che mi sento di morir. E se io muoio da partigiano, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. E se io muoio da partigiano, tu mi devi seppellir. Mi seppellirai lassù in montagna, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. Mi seppellirai lassù in montagna, sotto l'ombra d'un bel fior. E questo è il fiore del partigiano, oh bella ciao, bella ciao, bella ciao, ciao, ciao. E questo è il fiore del partigiano che morì per la libertà. Well, welcome to Frank Mazzacca. That was the end. I've just finished now. I say thank you very much for the people who come on when I am on. It helps me, gives me a bit of encouragement. I hope you enjoyed Bella Ciao and the other songs. Look them up on YouTube and you'll get the original versions, of course. All right. On that note, I want to bid you farewell until next Tuesday. In the meantime, have a good week, good weekend, and alla prossima. From Tom Padula of TomPadulaTV on YouTube and Insegna Booksellers. Come to see me, it's Christmas time. Come and get some Italian books for those children and for yourself too for the holidays. Okay, on that note, once again, arrivederci.